Hello, and welcome back. There's been a few people ask me, where you been, man? What happened with the YouTube thing? Where you been? To quote the immortal Tommy Frazier in the 1994 championship game, don't ask me where I've been. Ask me where I'm going to go. Now, I'll just say I'm a single parent, and there's some stuff going on with my kids, and anytime anything like that happens, you drop everything, you put your kids first. I mean, that goes without saying. That was part of it. Then we got into a deal with the internet service where, see if we can milk another $10, $15, $25. I ain't playing that game. So you combine all these things together and a whole bunch of other stuff, and there's a gap. Sorry. But here we are back. So, karate hands. I want to cover some tips and hopefully some beneficial tips. There's nothing I really don't care for more than I'm going to cover some tips. Make sure you have sharp saw blades. Come on, if you don't know you need sharp blades by now, you should be in the kitchen and not in the shop. So hopefully we'll have some beneficial tips here. Hopefully something that's beneficial. Here's our first thing, shop safety. And we all know about that, and we all know about earplugs, and we all know about safety goggles and stuff like that. I didn't ever pay much attention to this stuff when I was younger. You get a few pounds of wood in your eyes over the years. Maybe it makes sense to put the glasses on. Shocking. Same thing with hearing protection. And now I've seen in a lot of this type of thing, instructional type videos, guys will have the fancy shop goggles, and they'll have the ear protection, which is good. Even the fancy ones, that flip up and all that. And I see very few people with any kind of respirator system on. I read an article a long time ago that said sawdust, they start talking about microns. Very finite, stuff that you can't even see. You got wood fibers floating around. You get those in your lungs, they don't ever come out, ever. Myself, I don't care about my lungs. I'm just saying, I think it's interesting that you go through all the money for the fancy goggles and the fancy ear flaps and stuff, and then you're breathing in this stuff. So, and that stuff is important. If you're starting out and you're whatever in your 20s, even the cheap, $2 cloth face mask, basically with the rubber band thing, that's better than nothing. So there's my first tip. Think about the long-term future. Tip number 2, I highly recommend getting off the floor. And you don't think about that stuff when you're 20 or when you're 25. I guarantee you start thinking about it when you're 40. If there's a way, and I'm starting to think more, part of that's just getting older. I'm starting to think more, can I do this off the floor? Can I do it on a work table? Can I get elevated here? 5 times up and down off the floor is nothing. You multiply that out by 20, 30 years. You're talking tens of thousands of times up and down and up and down, up and down. It's hard on you, man. Still minor stuff. Another tip, a replaceable worktop. I made this one out of hardboard because it's cheap, and you get glue and stuff on that, you get scarred up after a while. Just replace it. I mean, hardboard's relatively inexpensive. A couple screws, countersunk. Switch it out, man, when it gets old. Here's a more beneficial tip. I have in this shop, I have what they call floating slab, where they put the corrugated tin back there in the old days, formed it all up and poured the slab, and then they take the forms out and you're done. Which is great, except it doesn't make a very smooth surface, and I do not have a level floor in here, never have had one in my life, I don't think. But anyway, so I made this little table just as a known level surface, and to, like I said, get off the floor. How do you deal with an uneven floor? And you can do shims, you can make one leg longer than the other. What if I have to scoot this table? Well, the floor is not going to be uneven in the same places. So the solution, which you probably can't see, yeah, you can a little bit, is a 2-inch lag bolt. And if you pre-drill that and run it all the way in, about a 1/2 inch diameter, run it all the way in, back it out to where you need it, and you can level this table. It can be level anywhere in the shop. Another good place to use that same thing is like at the end of a stair stringer on a concrete slab. If it's not quite level, you can adjust those out with a simple wrench, and boom, you're sitting flush. I think that's a helpful tip. 1/2 inch diameter, 2 inches long is plenty. Anything more than that, you're going to be teetering and tottering, and that's not good. This is a handy one. I don't remember where I saw this first. It was years ago, and it's paid dividends ever since. Let's say we have a board here, which we do. This board is 3 23/32 wide. And I need it in 2 equal pieces. And I usually do this. This will work for metal, it'll work for wood, whatever. I use this quite a bit, usually when I need a certain thickness. And I've got a board that certain thickness, but I need it cut in half, or I need it cut in thirds. All right, quick off the top of your head, what's half of 3 23/32? It doesn't matter. There's an easy way to do this. Half of this board, if you start from the top of your top edge here, and go to something that's divisible by 2, like 6 inches. You make your mark at 3 inches. That's exactly half. It doesn't really matter now what it is. We know that's exactly half. You run your saw blade down the middle of that, because your saw blade's 1/8 of an inch wide. You take a 1/16 off each side. You have 2 exactly equal pieces, and nobody cares what the measurements are. It doesn't matter. So you need it in 3 pieces. Still, go back at 6. 6 is divisible at 2 and 4. Bingo. You have 3 equal pieces. Like I said, you keep your blade in the center of your line, and voila, you have 3 equal pieces of equal thickness, and that has really paid off for me many, many times over the years. So I thought that was a useful tip. Now we're going to get to old stuff. These are old school car renewal tags from back in the day. And you'd need a car renewal tag because when the state turns your natural right, which traveling is, into a privilege and then charges you to do it, you have to renew that tag every year. They're real good about that. So there's a little multitude. My dad saved these from a long time ago. I mounted them to a board, and I mount the board up on the wall. This is the oldest one I have from 1928. Not real sure why I keep them. They're just kind of cool. Different. I don't see a lot of them floating around. Maybe they'll be worth something someday, who knows. Not overly exciting, but it is what it is. Anyway, hopefully we can get back to a regular schedule here on the videos. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and we'll see you when we see you. Thanks.